Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, how ready are you to defend yourselves? I mean, it may get to that point, so it's probably something you should be planning for and training for. Weather today is starting off really nice, but the heat wave's on its way. And could be seeing heat indexes, into the triple digits, which for around here, that's pretty warm. Plus, it's going to be really humid. So it's not like the dry heat. I know a lot of you think the dry heat's, trust me, the heat and the humidity, it's not a good combination. So Russia now has ships just off the coast of the United States. Yesterday, it was reported that they got within about 25 miles of the Florida coastline, and that they're now down in Cuba, and that they'll be doing some training, missile drills. Who knows what they'll be doing? Possibly offloading weapons into Cuba too, because that's exactly what Russia said that they would possibly do, is say, well, you're gonna start using your weapons in Ukraine against us. We're gonna start deploying our weapons in neighboring nations to you. And so the rumor is, and no confirmation on this that I can find, but the rumor is that possibly Cuba, Venezuela, and maybe even Mexico may see some Russian weapons deployments in them. This is probably a pretty big deal. Some people get it. I noticed yesterday online that I guess it's the community notes from Twitter, X, whatever it is, was really trying to downplay it, saying that it's not a big deal, that that Russia had let the United States know that they were going to do this, and reassured the United States that this was not to be taken as any type of hostile threat. And I think it's interesting because some of you are old enough to have been around, for sure, during the Cuban Missile Crisis and during that whole time period, right? That whole time period. And Americans were, in a lot of ways, in a panic. I mean, there's movies that's been made about it, of how Americans were frantically, building bunkers and little storm shelters and things like that to try to get away. That they were taking it pretty serious. American people in the United States were taking it pretty serious. And here we are again to something that I feel is very close to the level of the Cuban Missile Crisis, maybe even more. It's possible, especially if we're talking Mexico and Venezuela and all this kind of stuff. And it's kind of crickets out there. It's not, nothing's being talked about really on a broad, serious basis. Also, Poland is reporting that Russia has placed 100 nuclear weapons into Kaliningrad. And if you don't know where that's at, Kaliningrad is that little sliver of land that Russia owns and controls that's between Lithuania and Poland. So it's pretty much right in the heart of Europe. And Poland is saying that Russia has put about 100 nukes there. I don't want to, because I know so many of you, and I'm right there with you, but I know many are tired of the nuclear weapons talk. They're tired of the nuclear war talk. It's been going on for decades. Many of you might believe that it will never, ever, ever happen, that no country is crazy enough to do that. Some of you believe that nuclear weapons don't even exist. I just thought I'd throw that out there. But I think we have to take this pretty serious. I'm not saying that you go hide in your bunker and lock yourselves up. But, and I still believe that the odds of nuclear war happening right now because of all this are probably still fairly low, but they're not zero. And I'd say the odds are ever increasing. And so, considering all the stuff that's going on, I'd say it's a pretty good idea to start revisiting that, revisiting your protocols. What are you going to do if a nuclear war happens? And don't say, oh, we're just going to all die, because that's not true at all. It's not true. I mean, unless you live really close to a very strategic target, it's very survivable. Okay, so don't let all the hype kid you of that. If all this stuff happens, or even if it doesn't even have to be nuclear war. I've been talking about it in the last couple of days of how there's been predictions that World War III, hot, active, kinetic World War III, will start before 3 or 4 months away. Between that time now and 3 to 4 months, not very much longer. If that kind of stuff happens, if we get to that level, you're going to start seeing a draft. It's going to happen. I mentioned this the other day, and I've said it before. Germany's already reinstated their draft, and you are going to see the United States do the same. They've been complaining for the last few years they don't have enough troops. They don't have enough. And there's been all kinds of studies that America could not handle a two-front war. Well, if we're sending stuff to Ukraine, if we're sending stuff to Israel, if we're sending stuff to Taiwan, and then we go to war with Russia, and then probably with China, and then all of the potential terrorist attacks and things that would happen here in the United States when all that happens, we're gonna be pretty thinned out, and so you need to be preparing for these types of things. For those of you that are beyond draft age, you're probably thinking, oh well, I'm whatever. But there's a lot of young people out there, you that are watching, and a lot of you have young people that are living in your home, your children, and you're concerned with that. And it's crazy because at one time, folks like you and I were considered the most patriotic. We were the ones that, when there was a need for troops for war, we were the first ones to go sign up. And I think we're still patriotic, but I think our patriotism has changed. And while I'm not saying to support signing up or not, but I'd say most of you have gotten to the point. In fact, I cannot think, I know a lot of vets, remember, I live in the county that I live in has, I believe, from what we've read, the highest concentration of veterans, military veterans, in any county in the United States. I work around vets all the time. I don't know of a single vet right now that would support their children joining the military. None whatsoever. That's a drastic change in America. It used to be very tradition. You served in the military, then your son serves, and then his son, and there's this tradition, right? I don't really know of any vet right now that would want their child being drafted or joining the military. That says a lot. I'm sure there are some that would, but I don't know of any. And between that, the possibility of nuclear war, it is a possibility. I know we've become so conditioned over the decades of the threat and then nothing happening, but we can't discount that. Russia has kind of changed and upgraded over the last few years their nuclear weapons policy that, and just recently, just a few days ago, Vladimir Putin reinstated that or restated it, that if Russia felt threatened, if they felt that there was some existential threat to them as a nation, as a people, then they would absolutely use nuclear weapons. No doubt about it. And when you put all this kind of stuff together, and I'm not the type to be the first one to say, oh yes, war is happening. Yes, there's a lot of other YouTubers out there that do that. And that's not me. I try to restrain it because I don't know, and I'm not really sure, but I'll tell you, I'm certainly getting to that point very quickly that I believe that World War III is really literally right around the corner. That it absolutely is right around the corner. And we're talking just a few months away, weeks away, possibly. And we have to, I believe we need to be getting ready for that. How much food are you producing this year? What about the food preservation? Can you preserve that food that you're producing? What about water? Clean water. Do you have access to water that you can clean and drink? Do you have plans in place that if there was some kind of nuclear war, if there was a fallout, if you're too far away for fallout, and that doesn't necessarily hurt you, but are you prepared for just the chaos? There's a movie back in 1983, and the name of it's slipping my mind. I know that many of you are going to pipe in. It's like The Day After or something like that. I believe it's free on YouTube. You should probably go watch it. But anyways, this is back in the late 70s, early 80s, and it's portraying a nuclear weapons, nuclear war. And if I remember correctly, in that movie, people just go crazy. It shows people in the streets just going nuts. And that was back when people were actually polite and civilized and not a bunch of criminals and degenerates. Can you imagine what would happen today if even just one nuke went off in the United States, or really just near the United States? I mean, I think any nuke going off on the planet, being used to detonate anywhere on the planet, would cause a lot of panic. But it's going to be crazy. And we have to be ready for that. Even if we're not in any kind of direct threat of the actual nuke itself, the ripple effect of it, that's going to hurt. And then even if there is no nuke, if it's just war, that's going to affect us too. This country is so right on edge right now, and I believe that is most definitely part of the plan, is to get the nation at a point of such strain that we're right on the edge of that cliff, and that just the slightest disruption will cause us to fall over. And I think that's where we're at. So whether it's nukes or just World War III or something else, a large terrorist attack, could send many people just kind of over the edge, because everything right now is just, it seems like we're just right there more than ever before. And really that's where we need to be preparing, of figuring out what we need to have lined up to help us to be self-sufficient, so that we don't have to go out. We don't have to go out, like here on our property. We're miles and miles and miles away from civilization, from stores, from little towns. And I want to figure out a way that I can be as self-sufficient on this property as possible, so that when those things happen, I don't have to venture into town for a good while to get anything. And while we may not be able to take care of every possible need on this property, we can take care of certainly enough needs that we can do that. We can produce enough food, grow enough vegetables, produce enough meat, have the water, have defense, we have the medical, we have the general things for existence here. So that when that stuff happens, we can just, close the gates, so to speak, and ride it out here. Yes, we may have to defend ourselves from people, but that's way better than having to go into the cities and stuff and dealing with that. And that should be a goal for you. Even if it's not long term, even if you're able to do that for only 3 months, that's significant. That's significant. Because odds are, when things go crazy, 3 months later, a lot of the craziness is going to subside, because a lot of people will be dead by then. So, again, these things are definitely happening. They're happening in real time right around us. And I've only mentioned just a few in this video. It would be absolutely foolish for you to just be sitting back doing nothing. You need to be waking up, folks. And for those of you that are awake, you just need to be doing more. Pushing yourself even more. Is there more stuff you can set aside? Is there more, can you add more chickens to the coop? Can you, get a few more goats? Can you expand your garden? Can you, buy a few more cases of canned, vegetables? Whatever it is, add to your medical supplies, add to, herbs, medicinal herbs, whatever it is, training, make connections with the people around you, have coffee with your neighbor more often. Whatever it is, you need to be doing it, folks, because things are heating up. And this time, I think it's a lot different. I don't think it's going to end up all nice and fine this time. You need to be getting your houses in order and preparing yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.